Now that we are done with generating our data for the permit to work, let us proceed to the audits and inspections. Alright, the same process, options and settings, data source settings, and this time we choose audits. Audit right there. Change source, and we click browse and click on the audit file. You will see there's something that would happen here. Okay, apply changes, and there the message, the error message, the column category of the table wasn't found. So again, let's go back to the file. Okay, this is the audit for this week. So the error message was telling us that the column category of the table wasn't found. So we look into the tabs or the header about this category. So there is no category here because, as what I have said a while ago, this Power BI setup was patterned from the old flag. Now in the new flag, the category is being replaced as audit type. So we have to revert back the audit type into category. Okay, once we done that, we change the audit type into category, the heading, then we click save. Okay, save and close the file. Now let's try again, apply changes. Okay, no more error message, and we slide again the bar to reflect the date inclusive from the 8th to April, 8th to 14th of April. And so this is the data for the audits and inspections. So we are done with completing and generating our data files. So with regards to those error messages, I specifically show them to you why they appear, but once you are used to it, before actually I save the file and before going into the Power BI after generating the data, I already changed those headings into what the error message is asking for, so that when you extract the data from Power BI into Power BI, then there would no more error message and the flow would be seamless. After creating the data files for Prospector, the next thing we're going to do is to create the data files for the Moonrise G. So how are we going to do that? We first obtain and save the files that Asad has sent us. Okay, so here every week he sends us this weekly MRG HSC data. So we simply have to save it, right click, save all attachment, and save them all in the folder for the HSC files. We go on number 11, Power BI, then Equinor Astral, and then choose MRG for week 8, and then we click on OK, and that's where we're gonna save the file. Okay, once we're done with that, then we open the Power BI. Let's go to the MRGs folder. This is the previous week's file folder for MRG. So again, we click on the Power BI file for week 7, for MRG. And once we're done with that, here we go. So the same process, but again, there's one thing about the files for MRG. Okay, before going into opening the Power BI file, I have already changed some things on the Excel file. As for the training, I now remove the space between number and off, so there's no more space in this part. And then same thing with the audit. For the audit, we have typed the category here in place of the audit type, so that there would be no more error message. Okay, once we have opened the file, we have to save it on the new folder. Okay, this is for week 8. Week 8. And then there you go. So we go on the SOP data, options and settings, data and settings, click on SOP folder, change source, and then browse, choose the SOP file and open. Click OK and then close, then apply changes. Okay, so let's check for the date range. Okay, so the other way is to select the date manually here. Choose for the 8th of April to the 14th of April, and that's the data we have obtained. And then for the trainings and drills, same thing, export data source. This is for the training, change source, browse. Okay, click training, open, click OK and then close. Okay, apply changes. Right, so we manually click on the date range, so April 8th, then to 14, and that's our data for the 8th to 14th of April. So we are done with the training. The next is the permit to work. The same process of going through with it, and the same thing with the audits and inspections. And once we are done with changing the data, then we go on to the next step. The next step is to open the slide presentation. So we get that from this folder, current job, and then click on the party chief flag, double click, and click weekly meeting PPT, and open up the previous file. This is our last slide presentation file for our meeting last April 17th. So the first thing we should do is to save it locally into our file, as this is being saved from the party chief's folder. So we have to create our own local file, and that we are to save it on this folder. So we click on the HSC file, and then we click on the Power BI 11, and then Equinor, and here is where we're going to save it. So we click it, we label it as HSE, and the date of the meeting April 17. Okay, so I'm not going to save it as it has been saved there locally into our folder. We simply delete this part, as these are for the operations part. We can delete this one, and we start with the HSC portion. So we can delete this. If there's no incident for the week, then there's nothing to discuss. This was the last incident from the previous week, so we can delete this. But if there's an incident, then we have to create a slide, 1 or 2 slides, to explain and discuss the brief discussion on that particular incident. This one is about the environmental incident or oil spill of the Pablo Sea when they were in port. So we can delete this phone now, and we start immediately from the stats. So this part, usually we maintain 100% participation from the prospector, and this one is for the MRG. For the support vessels, the KPI is 1 SOP per person per 2 weeks for MRG and Pablo Sea. So we just maintain that one, and of course we have to check if they are really meeting the KPI. So we delete this part, as this was the previous slides, and first we open and put the slides for the prospector. Okay, the prospector slides is here. Let's click on the SOP part. We simply have to get the snipping tool, and then copy the area, and then copy, and then proceed to the PowerPoint and paste it like that. Alright, and then same thing with the next one. This is for the training. Again, go back to the Power BI for prospector training, and then here we'll put this one here, and then copy. Alright, and then here. Okay, right, so that's the one. And then here, the next one, continue the same process until you finish for the prospector, and then you go to the Moonrise G. And this one is for Moonrise G. We go for the Power BI of Moonrise G. First, we have to delete the previous slide. Okay, so Moonrise G, again click on the snipping tool, select the area you want to copy, and then copy, and then go to the PowerPoint, paste. As easy as that. Same process to be done on the succeeding slides until we are done with the Moonrise G. Then the next part would be the last week's SOP, closed and open status.